like I said, we were out there in the middle of nowhere, and the people a mile across the holler could hear us. When they were on their back porch, they could hear the echoes in the distance.
Would they tell you when you were getting better?
Yeah. They're like, we glad y'all finally figured it out, because it was rough to listen to there for a while.
Hey guys, this is Ryan from American Musical Supply. We're here in New Jersey at the Starland Ballroom. Blackstone Cherry is playing tonight, so we got a chance to talk to the lead singer and guitar player, Chris, about his love for amplifiers, his deeper love for the Line 6 Helix, tons of guitar talk, songwriting, and life on the road. We hope you enjoy it. Chris, thanks for coming.
Yeah, dude.
Appreciate you having here. It's been doing this a long time. We were talking about this a little before the cameras were rolling, and it's been over 20 years.
Yeah, dude. We formed in 2001 on my 16th birthday, and we've been at it ever since. We put the first record out, on a record label in 2006. And here we are, still doing it. I remember one of the first tours we ever did, we came here at Starland Ballroom and opened it up for people in 2006. And so it's really awesome to be back here tonight playing it, doing our own show.
Feel like home?
Yeah, dude. I mean, we've played here enough, it should be.
Well, you guys are kind of road dogs anyway. I would imagine there's probably not a part of the country that you haven't hit.
Not really. I mean, I think we've played in every state except Alaska, and there's one other one. And it's in the Northeast.
I think it's only Metallica that's played Alaska and Antarctica, right? And they tried to play every continent, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
I guess they can do that.
We're not quite Metallica level, so we were told to stay home.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They didn't want us. They said 40 Days of Darkness was enough without bringing Blackstone Cherry.
So I read, and I knew this way back in the day, that because I saw the name and I was like, there's got to be a Kentucky Headhunters kind of reference there in terms of how did that all come about? Was it just you guys went to high school together and his dad was in a band, or?
Man, so me and John Fred have gone to school together ever since kindergarten. Okay. We went all the way through school together, and around 1998, my 13th birthday, I got a guitar. John Fred had been playing drums, and that had kind of inspired me to want to pick up the guitar. It was kind of like the last step I needed, seeing one of my friends do something musical, and I wanted to join in, and we started jamming, and Richard, who is John Fred's dad, is in the Kentucky Headhunters along with John Fred's Uncle Fred, is the drummer in the band. Richard plays guitar. He's the telly man. But, when Richard saw around 2001, we've been going on down to the practice house off and on for 3 years, me and John Fred, with whoever we would jam with. But then in 2001, when we formed the band, we'd had the band together about, a couple months. And Richard would peek in every now and then. And I think that he saw a determination in us where, most of the kids would get out of school and go hang out with their girlfriends or go to, a field party on the weekend or do all the things that kids did in the early 2000s after getting out of school.
Right.
We would be at the practice house trying to write songs or honing in on certain parts of songs, certain things like that. And we were just dedicated. It was never a if, it was a when situation for us. It was like, whatever it takes, we're going to go play music. And I think he saw the determination and the dedication that we all had, not only to doing that, but to each other, that he decided that he wanted to help us out. And the wisdom and knowledge we gained from him it's immeasurable, really, whether it's about touring, about the business side of the music industry, or songwriting. We learned so much from that guy.
He went to school right out of school, right?
Dude, absolutely. I mean, leave high school and then go to school.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, because I wasn't the greatest student, admittedly. Once I got a guitar and realized that was way more fun than homework, then that was problematic for me.
Well, problematic in a good way.
It worked out.
You lucked out, though, to have a kind of a clubhouse like that. I mean, I think for a lot of us, we all know what it was like when we would get out of school and we would want to play. And it was just now it was a matter of where we're going to do it, where someone's either not going to kick us out or, where we could leave our stuff and just be ready to go. And that must have been really good for inspiration. Just you could walk in, hit the switch and go.
And the fact that the practice house was located on an old country road in the middle of nowhere. was very beneficial, because this wasn't the days of bands rehearsing with, pedal boards, in-ear monitors, and an electronic kit. No, we had, 50-watt tube amps and an old acoustic bass rig with a SVT thing. And it was all so loud in the practice house that it was just trying to be louder than each other. We were kids, but it helped us kind of shape and mold our sound, but we were, like I said, we were out there in the middle of nowhere, and the people a mile across the holler could hear us, when they were on their back porch. They could hear the echoes in the distance.
Would they tell you when you were getting better?
Yeah. They're like, we glad y'all finally figured it out, because it was rough to listen to there for a while. But look, people were honest with us. Like, a perfect example is one of my neighbors on the road I live on. I've known him my whole life. He's watched me grow up. He's about 10 years older than me, I think, maybe a little more. But now my little boy started playing drums, and he's picking up guitar, and he's 11. And we were driving through, and he looks at Declan, which is my little boy, and he goes, I got to tell you, you're a damn sight better than your daddy was when he first started. He said, so keep it up. You're going to do something all right. And I was like, I appreciate you. He said, oh, you sucked when you first started, dude. And I was like, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Knocking you down a peg.
Appreciate you.
Even with all the success, someone wants to let you know.
But it's all in good fun and love. But I just thought that was really cool, that he got acknowledgement, because that kind of encouragement goes so far when you're first learning.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Like, God, we've all been in the scenarios where people are like, you suck, leave. I'm like, what good does that do anybody? Really?
I'm thinking about even today how many times I was told I suck. So we don't have to get into it. Unless I could lie down on that couch.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna screw up so many parts tonight, because it's the first time we've played in the U.S. in a couple months, because we were over in Europe for a month and then came home and had a month off.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to how many lyrics I forget tonight. I'm not fancy enough for a teleprompter, but 8 albums in, a couple EPs.
I was going to say, that's a big catalog.
There's a lot of songs to remember.
So who picks the set list? Is it up to you how your voice is feeling that night, or do you guys huddle and...
No, we kind of all get together, and, maybe I'll send out a text and go, hey, what do y'all think about this? And then we all just kind of put in feedback, and it kind of goes from there. But at this point, with 8 records, so many songs where, you got this song that was a single, and this song was a single, and this song is expected to be played live. Right. So it kind of boils down to which new songs can we put in and which songs can we play for just the fun of it, and which you end up with 3 or 4 of those a night. But the rest of the stuff you're playing is stuff that people know, because, admittedly, as a fan of many, many bands, like, when I go to a concert, it's fun to hear like one obscure song. Yeah. But I don't want to hear a whole set list of obscurities. Sure. We want to hear the hits. I think, I don't know that we've ever had any hits, but
you've had a few hits.
Well, but you know what I mean? But like the mentality for us is we want to go out there and play the songs that people want to hear, and then sprinkle in some new stuff like that.
You ever sprinkle in any covers? I know you guys.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I've always admired about what you guys do. And not just the fact that you're always open to doing covers, but you guys are like all over the map. It's not just typical maybe Southern rock or some heavy stuff. I mean, what floats your boat? What, like, when you go, that's an idea for a cover, or is you just have fun with it and see if it works?
My favorite thing to do is take songs. Don't get me wrong, I love covering rock tunes, but my favorite thing is taking songs that are more like a pop kind of song or something, or, and that's kind of very open to interpretation musically, to where you keep the vocal melodies, but you can, and the chord progression, but you can interpret it the way you want to. Stuff like, we did a cover of Rolling in the Deep, which was a lot of fun. The latest record we did, when we were in the studio doing that, we had recorded a version of What's Love Got to Do With It, right?
So it's awesome, yeah.
But it's like a super heavy kind of version of the song,
But it resonates. The song still...
Yeah, but we kept the key change in at the end and everything, But I really like doing stuff like that. Give Me One Reason, Tracy Chapman, we do that one. And that one's just like a fun 1-4-5 and just one of the most recognizable songs of all time, But I don't know, man. Then we also did Can't You See, kind of reimagined it a little bit with some guitar riffage and stuff like that. I'm trying to think what else. Don't Bring Me Down, which is the ELO.
Yep.
Jeff Lynne's just
amazing.
Unreal.
And you guys like to harmonize, so it's like
100%. We grew up learning how to sing harmonies. We would think we were doing pretty good, listening to Beatles songs, and of course that's where Jeff Lynne, learned everything. It was all Beatles stuff. But there's a record of his called Armchair Theater, and there's a song called What Would It Take on that record. And every time we thought we were doing decent with singing harmonies with each other and all that stuff, we would put on that song and the harmony structures on it, and we just go, yeah, just give it up. We still got work to do, fellas.
Yeah, but isn't that the point? I mean, you're still fired up, and it's exciting to do it. And sometimes you think of bands like ELO or Queen or something like that, and you think there's all this studio trickery going on, and then you see them do it live, and you're like the Eagles, like Seven Bridges Road or something like that. When you hear that, and you're like, oh man, that's just talent, and determination.
And at that point in time, there were metronomes. Bands played, people want to think that, oh, well, they didn't play the click in it. Yeah, they did. They played the metronome in the 70s. Sure. What they didn't have, though, was Antares or Waves or...
Pro Tools and all that.
Yeah, they didn't have they had editing capabilities, but not the complex editing capabilities that we have now with the formats of pitch correction and things like that. Melodyne did not exist in 1970, whatever it was that Seven Bridges Road was recorded. Right. So, and then you watch videos of them doing it, and it's just humans singing. Yep. And that's what's so badass about it is, our first record, it took me a long time to be able to enjoy listening to it again, because vocally it was very, very much a struggle for me doing that record. Mm-hmm. But listening back to it now, there's something about it that I love. And I think part of that was the fact that we didn't record that record to a click. We went in, we played the songs live, and then we would fix where we messed up on the guitars. And then behind the guitar solos, Ben would go add an extra rhythm. Right. But it was very much a cut live on the floor kind of record. And then every record since then, we've recorded in the more traditional recording studio kind of in the last 30 years at least, where you build the track up or whatever. But man, there's something to be said about that style of recording. I get into deep dives on that stuff sometimes, man. I was watching some stuff about STP the other day and about how they just really didn't record to a click. They just wanted their songs to move in a different kind of way.
Well, that's the thing, we always joke around, like some people are very precise and some people have feel, and it's not to say that one person's technically adept and the other guy is sloppy. But I look around this room and I'm looking at pictures of Jimmy Page, or I think of Slash, or I think of, or STP. There's a good element of it could go wrong at any minute. And to me, that's kind of exciting, and to hear a perfectly crafted pop song where everything's quantized, if it's done right, that's great too.
Oh, 100%. They all music can give you emotion and feeling, right? But there's a magic, like perfect example is there's a time and place for everything, in my opinion. Like with us, and I'm not saying what we do is right by any means, but it works for us. Mm-hmm. We record to a click in the studio, and we're locking in with that click, man. You know what I mean? We want to make sure that, because in today's market you've got to compete, right? Yeah. But when it comes to live, it's no saddle bronco busting, man. Like we might play something 10 BPM fast live, but we're doing it live.
Any train wrecks? Anything live?
Oh, hell yeah. We've had some train wrecks. Come on now. Counting off the wrong song to, dude, I forget lyrics and I just laugh. I'm like, I fucked it up. It joke's on me. And I will. Some nights I'll start a song completely over if I mess it up. But man, it's the one thing I have to say is anytime we've had like a train wreck live and been able to laugh it off, the whole crowd laughs too, because they understand that there's no computer up there. There's nobody, and I understand that a lot of today's music calls for that, We just write our music in a way that we just go play it, and we're very... That's a thought, we don't want to have to run any kind of stuff, because the way our luck goes, the first time we ever tried to run a track live, it would be the most disastrous thing you ever saw. It's just the way our luck goes, man. So, you know, as much as it is not wanting to, there's a fear there as well. You know, it's the unknown, because
we've seen it happen. Technical difficulties can derail the whole thing. It's like, how about we just play? You know?
Dude, and that's the thing. Like I said, I'm not knocking anybody's approach to what they do, because, like I said, there's a time and place for every bit of it. But for us, our approach has always been just go on stage and play. Get the stuff to sound the way you want it to sound, and go play. And that's what we've done now for the last 20 years, you know. And just a running joke. I asked somebody one time, I said, what would it take for us to break in the United States? And somebody said, a light show and backing tracks. And I was like, well,
I beg to differ.
I understand. But, you know, man, I don't mind whatever anybody wants to do, dude. I swear, like people want to raise a fuss about all that stuff, you know, and I'm like, you're paying to see a show, you know. Was the show great? Then okay, man. Then, you know, if the end result was great and you got your money's worth, then let's stop complaining about stuff, you know. Like, let people do what they need to do and move on with it.
And it sounds to me like all you guys also, I think that the respect that you have for your audience comes through. I mean, you know, they paid money to come see you, and you want to put on a damn good show without a lot of filler, without a lot of pyro and all the other stuff. If the situation calls for it, sure. But I think as a fan, like you said, you know what it's like when you see someone up there and they're going through the motions. It's almost insulting.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, I think it really comes down to, why are you doing it? Are you doing it for a paycheck, or is it because life wouldn't work without the music for you? You know, and for me, yes, obviously it's how I provide for my family is through the music that I'm fortunate enough to help create and be a part of. But the reason I leave home like I did yesterday with my son having a hard time, wanting to know if he can go with me or if I could just, you know, stay home this time. The reason you come do that is because you don't know how to exist without this. You know, and by this, I mean getting on stage and playing these songs that mean everything to us in front of the people. And when you see those songs mean something to the people, it just, I don't know, man. It doesn't have to be the biggest venue in the world. It can be a small place. Dude, we've been very fortunate in our career to play some beautiful venues and headline them. And dude, we've done Royal Albert Hall. We've been very fortunate to play Wembley Arena several times as a headlining act. You know, we've got to play castles. We've done all this stuff. And some of the most memorable moments we've ever had have been in 300-seat clubs.
Sure.
You know, so it's all about just connecting with people on that human element. You know, I think, and that's why to me it doesn't matter. You know, it's if that connection's made or not, right? Like, the flashiness and all that stuff, it's awesome, and but it's kind of like the icing on top of the actual meal a little bit, you know?
Sure.
Because the reason we're all there is because those songs mean something to us, regardless of if you're at, you know, a Taylor Swift concert or if you're at, you know, a Seven Dust concert. Two opposite ends of the spectrum, right? And I have admiration for both artists because they've done amazing things, right? Sure. My musical preference is going to lean more Seven Dust, but, you know, she's got great music as well.
Heck yeah.
So it's, you know, you look at either side of that spectrum and people are there because those songs connected with them, you know? So it's not about the spectacle, it's about the substance.
Yeah, good point. I like that. So that begs the question now. You're talking right out of high school. You knew you wanted to do it. There was no plan B?
No.
Did you ever think like, oh my God, what would plan B be? You know, what would I be doing right now if it wasn't for music?
Labor force work is probably what I would be doing, honestly, you know, because that's what I did. to make money for guitar strings. I was fortunate. My grandpa was a masonry worker. He, did house foundations, bricked houses, things like that. And in his later years, he didn't like to climb scaffolding. So instead of doing brickwork on the sides of houses, we would just do house foundations.
Oh, okay.
And where we grew up, you could miss so many days of school for work, for farm work, or whatever. It's just a very rural area where kids had to miss school to help on the farm and stuff a lot. And I would use my farm days to either go, cut tobacco with him or go do a house foundation or something like that. So if music hadn't have worked out for me, some kind of physical labor force job is what I would be doing, because I'd want to be moving.
Okay.
I don't think I would want to be confined to a certain space all day. I'd want to be doing something, probably construction or something like that. Just so, it's gonna be hard on your body, but it's something that I've been a part of, and at least I'd be active.
Do you think some of those elements kind of inform what you do as a musician? Getting your hands dirty, building the foundation of something, moving.
It
some
sure
of those
as hell
energies.
makes you appreciate being able to travel the world with a guitar in your hand instead of, it being a weapon of some sort, because God bless those people,
Yeah, no kidding.
The only people that I can think of from our area that have been fortunate enough, to see as many parts of the world as, we've been blessed enough to see are people that enlisted in the military in some facet, and some of those guys didn't make it home, and were friends of ours. So we're very fortunate for what we do. But I think where we came from definitely, and the way we were brought up, has a big impact on the way our band sounds, because, number one, if we'd been even in Louisville, Kentucky, right, or Nashville, we would have been having to compete with the sound of the bands that were in the scene to get into those clubs, right? Because that's just kind of the way the scene was in the early 2000s.
Sure.
You had to fit what this club had going on or go to the next club. And where we lived, it was just a bunch of country, line dance halls or coffee shops, even Mexican restaurants, dude. We played anywhere that would let us set up and play our music. But we didn't have that fear of, well, we got to have, this kind of thing in our sound like they do, or they won't, let us play these clubs.
Sure.
It was just, if we thought it was great, truly great, then we would run with it, and that's the way we've kind of always kept our songwriting. Was at the end of the day, if we believe in it, then it's worth working on, but then if it takes more than 30 minutes, we're over it. If it takes more than 30 minutes for the idea to start truly coming together,
Sure.
We got to move on
it.
to the next idea. Yeah. It literally gets put on a shelf and it'll be called idea 342 or something.
Yeah, but it could come back. You never know. It depends on your headspace, right?
Yeah,
And
dude.
you might go, what was I thinking?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I think a big part of that is that you understand how hard it is to become successful, and to think that how long you've been around, how many albums you've been able to put out and see the world. But I think that appreciation for what you do comes out in what you guys do.
I hope
it seems
so.
genuine to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like, there are some bands that listen to them. It's fine. They're good at putting on a show, but I don't know how much they live it and breathe it.
I have a really hard time faking a smile. So if I'm having a hard time playing, or if I'm messing up, guitar parts that I should be hitting and stuff, you're going to see it on my face.
Yeah.
That's just, I'll get over it and I'll be fine in a minute.
Sure.
And I'll be smiling again.
Yeah.
But when I mess up, you're going to visibly see it on my face.
That's the thing too. Sometimes we feel the mistakes more than anybody, and someone could be out there like, I didn't even know you made a mistake. It's like, oh God, that's all I thought about. And you have to move beyond it.
And dude, I'm bad about it. I'll get it. If I really mess something up, it'll take me at least the next song to get like back, just to get back to where I'm not thinking about what I'm doing and I'm just having fun again. Because if I screw something up to where it's noticeable, if it's not something I can't just fake through, if I just totally up, then that whole next song, I'm literally just every part of that song is racing through my head, from anticipating changes, from bridge to chorus or whatever. I'm hyper analyzing that song. And then if I make it through that one, I'm like,
you let your hair down again.
We're good. If I had any to let down, yes, it's exactly what happened.
So what, if you had to pick being a singer and a guitar player, if you showed up at a gig and one thing wasn't working, would you pick one over the other if you had to?
It's tough because I always wanted to be a guitar player,
Mhm.
and the thought of singing never crossed my mind.
Really?
Yes. The only reason I sang is because when we first started, they said I was the only one that had a recognizable voice that didn't sound similar to someone else,
Mm.
and I could remember all the words. So
So
they
you
stuck
won.
me. They stuck me singing.
By default.
Yeah, and dude, I hated it for so long. I did not like having to be the singer. Like, because to me, it was like I have to go sing now. You know,
Right.
it wasn't like I get to go sing. It was I have to go sing, and it took me a really long time to get the other way of going. Let's go sing, man. You know, like
Right.
so. That one's tough for me because I feel like where I fall off with one, I balance myself out with the other the best I can to present the best version of me.
Okay.
You know, so it's like if I'm having a night to where, you know, my voice is kind of, you know, scratchy and I'm struggling a little bit, I know I've got my guitar to lean on and it's not going to let me down, you
True.
know?
Yeah.
Or if there's a night where, you know, my fingers just do not want to react the way they're supposed to my guitar, and I'm singing, feeling good about singing, at least I've got that, you know? So if I had to be just stuck naked with one,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I'm going to go wild card and say sing,
Okay.
because all my life I just wanted to play guitar, but I think the uncertainty of not having that comfort zone there for an entire, because like I'll put my guitar down and sing every now and then, but I think more so than that, having to do a whole show with no guitar would freak me out, and it would either be great or awful. You know what I mean? Because I think sometimes in those moments when we're terrified is when it's either the best or the worst comes out. You know, and
Oh yeah.
I like to gamble a little bit, so let's flip a coin one night and find out. You know?
Yeah. Just leave the guitar on
Yeah.
the side.
Safe gambling. Safe gambling.
Yeah. Well, and a guitar is a friend. It's always there for you. But I mean, you know, it's tough being the singer too, because on any given day you want to go out and hoot and holler and have a good time. And it's like, I got to rest my voice. I got to make sure I'm getting enough sleep and
I'm pretty
hydrated.
horrible with most of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I do better now than I used to, but you know, I didn't take care of myself, had to have a surgery.
Oh.
You know, and then we did the Human Condition record, started recording it 3 days after surgery, and then I started singing 2 weeks after surgery. So it was a quick, you know, heal process, and it all went really, really well, but it was terrifying, man. You know,
I bet. It's your livelihood.
I lost my voice completely, and it was not coming back. Nothing I did would bring it back. And I went in, and then, you know, I had to have this piece removed, and it was scary, but, you know, I made it through, and now I try to do a better job of taking care of my voice.
Well, that's probably why you picked singing there. I mean, because knowing that it was something that you almost lost, it probably means, you know, hey, man,
Needs a little more.
that's
now.
part of my identity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, part of what you got going on.
And that was my thing, man. It's just like, you know, as much as I wanted to be known for a guitar player, that was my dream as a, you know, as a young guitar player, was I wanted to be, you know, a guy that people, you know, thought of like a guitar guy, a real guitar guy.
Sure.
And the hand I was dealt was to go be the singer of a band. And not a bad hand.
I was going to say, it's not too
Not
bad.
Not a bad hand, man. You know, it's still the same. I still get to be a guitar player in that band with
Sure.
another great guitar player. But no, man, you know, I'm thankful for the opportunities that we were given, and the fact that, let's be real, man, you know, we put our first record out in 2006. 18 years later, we're sitting here talking about our band still. And in that 18 years, there's been so many bands that were great bands come and go that
I was gonna say.
don't do anything anymore.
For
So
sure. Yeah.
the fact that, you know, we're still around, and another great band in Nonpoint, you know, those dudes have been through the trenches and around for years and years, just like us. So we're really looking forward to this tour, man. It's gonna be a hell of a tour.
So rock isn't dead.
No.
That's what everyone outside keeps telling me.
Well, look, I know some very famous people have said that in the past, but just because maybe his vision of rock and roll is dead, the rest of the free world can still view it however the hell they want to.
Sure. And listen, you get to be in a room where everybody in there is singing along every word that you wrote. I mean, to be in a room and play and be appreciated for playing music is one thing. To be in a room where everybody there is rooting for you must be one hell of a drug.
It's the best high you can have, really. I mean, you know, and I have been high, but that's the best one. And seriously, man, it's like, you know, that is that's the ultimate payoff. You know, it's not a paycheck or a royalty check or any of that. It's when people care enough about the songs to sing them back to you. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was a kid, man, Garth Brooks did a special at Central Park, and we recorded it off of HBO or whatever it was it aired on. And when he did Unanswered Prayers and all of Central Park sang it back to him, it was one of the most astounding things I'd ever seen at that age. And I always dreamed that, you know, I could be in a band one day where they would sing the songs back like that. And, you know, I've been very fortunate to have some opportunities to have our friends sing songs back to us, and it's pretty overwhelming.
It's got to be special every time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you joked before when we were getting mic'd up that you said, you know, what kind of amps do you use? And you kind of said, well, I don't use amps anymore.
Dude, I haven't used amps live since, I want to say sometime in 2017. We did the Black to Blues EP. I recorded that with the Helix. I recorded Family Tree with the Helix. The next blues EP I recorded with the Helix. And then I took a break from Helix for recording on the Human Condition and used an amp. But live since late 2017, I want to think, or mid 2017, I've been using a Helix probably 95% of that time. I had a stint where I was using a Kemper for a little bit, and it's a great unit. I had a Quad Cortex, another great unit, and I had one of the fractal units, the FM, one of the FM units with that. You know, and they were all fantastic sounding units, and they all had their things. But for me, the Helix has been the easiest one for me, and that's what it is. You know, in today's game, I'm a firm believer that the technology has gotten so good that it's all in the hands of the user at this point. And it's which one can you get the best out of for you, you know? And for me, that's the Helix. Oddly enough, that's what Ben uses live, Steve as well. All three of us are using Helix live, direct to front of house.
Right.
Our cabinets are on stage, but those are just for stage volume.
And then you have in-ears for everything else? Or?
Ben and I run wedges, and Steve and John Fred run in-ears.
That's pretty, I mean, if you think about it too, we were kind of joking for years, and obviously we're guitar players, so we love old amps and old tube amps. Those are great. And we would use things like a multi-effects processor or something that would kind of mimic that because it was more convenient. Now it seems like the convenience is there, and they just have done their homework, and the sound is so much more realistic.
100%, man. And I mean, it's, like I said, it all comes down to the user with a lot of these units. It's how much time are you willing to invest into, you know, really understanding all these little parameters in some of this stuff. You know, like where you place the mic is going to change the mid-range of everything. Which microphone you use is going to change all those things. So, you know, it's it all comes down to user knowledge and the willingness to learn the unit.
But that's the key. Did you sat down and you really delved into it?
Dude, that was it for me. Dude, exactly what happened is we flew to South America to do some festivals, and I blew up 3 amplifier heads in 2 shows. This is no joke. I blew up 3 amplifiers in 2 shows.
It's expensive.
Well, they were backline. They were provided by the festival, so thank goodness it wasn't mine. I just flew down with a pedal board, and on my pedal board was, no joke, I had a phaser that was set super duper fast, and just kind of like for a warble effect more than anything.
Sure.
I had an overdrive, a fuzz, a wah, and a tuner.
That's it.
So nothing on that board is going to blow that amp up. Nothing's going to front end it too hard.
Right.
And I blew up 2 900s the first day. And then another 900 the second day, and they finally brought me over a 6505, and I just went to the clean channel and pushed the crunch thing in and just kind of dimed it, and it sounded great, man. And it got me through the whole show. But when we got back to the hotel, I said I will never fly anywhere again without a Kemper or something with me.
To save your butt. Yeah.
Some kind of digital unit that I know what it's going to sound like,
Yep.
because this was miserable. And sure enough, we got home. I had a Supro Black Magic, and I took it into a local guitar shop and traded it for a Helix they had in store.
Okay.
And because I had the Supro for like a practice amp for dressing rooms or whatever, just have something to jam on.
Sure.
And I went in, got the Helix, and this was pretty early on in the Helix, and I brought it on the bus, and within 10 minutes, I already figured out how to create a signal chain and had like a pretty good Marshall sound dialed up, like for Hendrixy kind of stuff,
Sure.
And I was like, okay. And then I got on YouTube and I watched every video I could find on Helix. And then, because like I'm not going to read a user manual. It's pointless. You might as well even put it in the box for something that I buy. I will go find a video.
Sure.
And someone can explain it to me. But as far as reading the information and trying to comprehend it, it doesn't work as well for me. But I can watch somebody do something and I can do it for you. So I just went and watched every video I could find. And looked more for guys that were messing with sounds more like what I would use. Because most people, on YouTube these days, it's sparkling cleans and crushing heavy stuff. And I neither one of those. I like an edge of breakup for a clean, and then I like my overdrive, like the Friedman adaptation of a Marshall or something kind of
hot rodded
like
Marshall kind of vibe. Yeah.
100%, man. A little bit more. The low end shifted a little bit lower.
A little tighter, yeah.
Yeah, just so it's not as woofy sounding, I guess. But, dude, I've been able to use a Helix now for going on 6-7 years and been thoroughly happy with it every night. People ask me all the time, what tube amps am I using? I'm like, well, I'm not, but,
Well, that's the thing. We were even joking, like, if we went down and did a rig rundown for what you're using, you'd probably be like, those are my guitars, this is my Helix. See you later.
It's literally so simple. I've got 3 guitars that are my main guitars in the vault right now. I've got one of my signature Chapman models. Then I've got a Lucky Dog Slant Evangelist. That is my signature guitar is in drop C sharp. Then the Lucky Dog is in half step standard, and then I've got a 24 fret ML3 Pro Modern. I think I said that right.
Right.
It's like a really cool pink color. That is my drop C guitar. And then I've also got just a standard American Tele that's had the hell beat out of it in the vault. That's one of the best guitars I've ever played. Another one of those guitars, I just walked into a music store one day and I was checking out all the Teles. And he goes, you should really check that one out. He goes, I know it does. It's beat up and kind of, he's like, I said, well, yeah, a lot of times though, those are the ones.
Those are the ones. Someone played the hell out of it, yeah.
And I, sure enough, dude, I picked it up and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have this. And dude, it's just a standard Tele with standard pickup configuration. And I put that guitar in drop C and played some of our heaviest songs on it, and it just sounds brutal.
Stock pickups,
yeah, everything's stock.
Regular single coils.
Yep. And then the only other guitar I've got in there is, I can't remember what the model number on it is, but it's the Chapman that has the 2 P90s and it's semi-hollow. And I've got like the green Bass Boat Flake one. And then, but I took it to my local shop back home. It's a small independent shop. I'd have them do a lot of work, trade a lot of stuff in there. But I had them routed out for a humbucker in the bridge.
Okay.
And I put one of my bare knuckle peacemakers in it, and that thing is a beast. It is so awesome because I like the humbucker in the bridge, P90 in the neck.
It's a great combination, and the P90s are so underrated. The key is, like Leslie West said, sure it hums, don't stop playing.
Yeah,
just keep going.
Dude, that's it, dude. And there's some companies now that are making quieter P90s and stuff, and it's cool, but I'm kind of with Leslie on that one. Just give me an old one that's kind of about halfway unwound and squawks a little bit when you hit it just right. That's when they sound good to me, man. My wife's got a guitar that was a family member's, and it's like one of the early 60s melody makers before they went to the SG body, when it was more like the double cut style.
Sure.
With the single pickup in it. And dude, that thing just
It rips.
It rips.
Yeah.
Single coil size pickup, and it just rips. It sounds so good.
So what is it about T-style guitars that speaks to you? I mean, obviously, we're all into them, but what is that? Like, when you have to identify, like if someone says to you, how come you don't play Strats or SGs or Les Pauls? And you have an appreciation for those, obviously. But you go back to that 25-inch and a half scale length and that feel of a Tele, it's almost like it won't let you down. And I can't really put my finger on it.
I don't know, man. My first ever guitar was an Epiphone, and I don't remember the model number on it, but it was like a T something. It was a Tele style Epiphone with a batwing headstock, and I've still got it. It was my first ever electric guitar, but it was like, an Epiphone Telecaster, but instead of the hockey stick headstock, it was the batwing style.
Okay.
So that was my first ever, guitar. And then I got a Squier Strat. I graduated up to that. Still got both those guitars, which is awesome.
Nice.
And I had my third guitar, which was a Bird's Eye Maple Epiphone Les Paul from like the late 80s, early 90s.
Sure.
But man, I played Les Pauls for a really long time, some SGs, really mainly Gibson stuff. And then I fell in love with the PRS stuff. I got, contacted with them and dude, I'd say it today, they make some of the most amazing guitars on the planet,
They know what they're doing.
I played a lot of those. I had a signature with them that, we did well with. It was a beautiful guitar. I had the Humbucker P90 combo. Very proud of that. And like I said today, I've got one of their guitars on the bus rather. That, we're getting ready to start writing some songs and stuff. And
already you got more stuff coming?
Dude, in today's business, you can never start writing soon enough.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true, isn't it? Got to stockpile that stuff.
But no, dude, I went through years where I played more single cut style stuff. And then, man, I got that first Lucky Dog really off of Anthony. He posted a public sale and I contacted him on it and ended up purchasing it. And that guitar just kind of reinvigorated my love for T-style guitars. That, and I had a Nash T63.
Yeah, those are good guitars.
I just, everything's always been, the only maple fretboards I've got a couple. One of them is a Lucky Dog. But there's something about a 25.5-inch scale. The T body shape is just my preferred because it's, it's closer to a Les Paul than a Strat. Let's be real here.
Sure.
But something about a rosewood fingerboard, a maple neck, and a 25.5-inch scale length feels the best in my hand. And it just has the best clarity, I think. There's a clarity in that little bit longer scale, and that does something for me anyway. They hold tune a little better too, it seems like, than a shorter scale.
Sure. I mean, we've had a number of interviews where we've talked to people about, tone woods and the idea of what the woods bring to the party. And I just maintain that at the end of the day, it's one, like you said, you picked up that guitar in a store, you're like, I'm leaving with this. Right away. Yeah. And I don't really necessarily think about what kind of fret wire it is or the how many pieces the body is or something like that. I mean, all of that's great. If it looks cool, that's awesome because guitars should look cool. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it should speak to you. And sometimes you don't question it. You go, this is the recipe that works for me. And I'm not telling anyone to do different. That works for me.
Most guitars I've bought from shops, I've bought them or knew that was the one I was going to get before I ever played it through an amp.
You just knew.
There's something about guitars with me that I can sit down and play it acoustically and know if it's going to work for me or not. I don't have to hear
I totally agree. I thought you meant you just saw it on the wall and you're like,
no.
But I mean, in terms of unplugging, if it sounds good unplugged.
Yeah, but just sitting down, an electric guitar off the wall.
Yep.
If I strum, it could be the most beautiful thing in the store or the coolest looking thing in the store. But if I strum it and it's dead, I'm not going to buy it.
Back on the wall.
Dude, there's been a few guitars I'm like, I want that guitar because the look of that guitar.
Sure.
And then I strum it and I'm like, I do not want that guitar.
Yeah.
It's just that fast. It's just the way it works.
And the longer you do it too, the more gear you pick up, you start to have an affinity for certain things that work for you. And I think there's the attitude people say, well, more gear and good gear is going to make me better. But it's like if you put the hours in and you actually care about what you're playing, you can identify pretty quickly that good gear is going to make a good player better. Yeah. It's going to inspire you.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. There's the quality of the budget friendly guitars today versus 1998 when I started playing guitar, it's been a big jump. You know,
For
don't get me
sure.
wrong. My favorite Strat I've ever owned, I've had some nice 70s Strats, early 70s Strats. My favorite Strat I've ever owned is an 89 Squire I've got.
And do you know why?
I have no idea. But that guitar, man, it doesn't matter what pickups I put in it. It always sounds like that guitar. It's just got a thing about it, but it's a rosewood board on a 25.5-inch scale. And it just does the thing, man. Those are the two things that I really care about. And I, like with our band, you know, sitting around home, I don't mind the noise, but with our band, I'm, you know, with the Helix, I can get rid of most noise anyways. But I try to not have too much noise going on, because there's nothing worse than, you know, a song having a quiet part and you hear it's the worst, dude. And it's happened lots of times.
Oh, sure. Grounding issues are everywhere.
They're the greatest.
Yeah. So that's the rig. I mean, you know, you're talking basically a good T-style guitar for the most part, into the Helix, and then into the wedges.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, the speaker, I've got a 212 PowerCab that I run for stage volume, but I could do, well, I mean, we just went to Europe and I didn't use a cabinet. I just wedges, Helix, and guitars.
And same with like if you did the Blues EP again, where it was maybe a little more stripped down, it's still the same rig?
The newest record we just did, Screamin at the Sky, my guitar is all Helix native plug-in.
That's amazing. Not looking back.
No, dude, I mean, I did a couple solos with a couple amps, but we were running those. I preferred the impulses over the live cabinet sound most of the time.
Okay.
Unless we're wanting a roomy kind of sound.
Sure.
But, I mean, man, for me, I've gotten so used to the Helix and the way it responds to how I play that it's kind of my home, man.
Right.
You know, I'm okay with it. If they never put out another one and it still sounds as good as it does for the next 20 years, I'm okay with that.
Well, and the functionality too, like you said, they're so intuitive. Like after a while, you're like, okay, I tweak it a little bit, and if I put the time in, it's there. I mean, the sound is there, and you got these, you know.
Yeah. Well,
so you're gonna,
dude. My dad told me, God rest his soul. He passed a couple years back, but he told me one time. He said 90% of everything you play, the sound you're going to get out of it is going to come out of your hands.
oh yeah,
He said it's going to be down to how hard you fret, how hard you pick, the way you hold the guitar. He said all these things are going to affect the outcome of the sound. And I'm like, okay. And dude, I've always played like a 1mm pick. I use 10 to 52 strings, no matter what tuning I'm in. The only time I ever use like a standard 10 to 46 is if I'm playing in standard.
sure. Well, if you're doing drop C, you need something a little thicker.
But that's the thing, like drop C, half step down, or just a regular drop C or drop D, I'm using 10 to 52s. But if I'm in standard 440 with an E on top, I prefer to have the 10 to 46.
Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, and that's the thing, you know, if we were 10 of us in a room and we had one acoustic guitar, nothing to hide behind, everyone play a G chord. It's going to sound like 10 different people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people don't really understand when they think about playing guitars. And we kind of go up our own butts about gear and pedals and all of that. But it comes down to like, that sounded like you, that sounded like him, that sounded like her. And it's the same guitar.
A perfect example is Ben and I both use Helix. He uses a super high gain amp in there. I'm using the Friedman, which is a high gain amp, but it's not like a,
it's not like a diesel.
It's
or
not
something.
like a 5150 or something like that, you know. And we could swap guitars, and it would still sound like me playing
just on a different part of the stage.
Yeah, and him would just swap, and it's still going to sound like me and Ben playing.
Not blow your mind.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But dude, like even your bone density has certain, like, because the mid range when he plays is totally different than when I play.
Bone density. No.
I swear, I think bone density has something to do with it.
Really?
I swear. I think everything about it, man, because everything's resonating, right?
Sure.
So your bones are going to resonate. Maybe I'm out there.
No, I've never thought of that. I mean, like we're going to talk about the pH of our sweat, or like, you know, all that.
Everything could be a contributing factor to some degree. I mean, at the end of the day, it's, you know, a piece of metal vibrating over a magnet. So how much of the tone
What are
would
the
debate?
variables?
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know, that's why, like, a lot of people, I've seen videos where a guy just puts pickups across air.
Yeah, or a log or something. Yeah.
And it's like, it sounds the same with, you know, and I'm like, okay, but that's the thing about guitar players is we're all crazy because tone is subjective, and we all chase something that you're never gonna see,
But you know it when you hear it.
Yeah, you do.
And it never stops.
No, what's funny, man, is here lately I've been really digging like solid state amps, and I don't know what it is, but at the little shop back home, he's got a couple orange. The Crush.
Yeah. They're amazing.
And dude, I plugged into one of those things the other day, and it felt as good as any tube amp I've ever played. Yeah. Like the natural compression you're getting on the overdrive side shouldn't sound like that in a solid state amp.
Well, yeah, I mean, the future is here now, but you have to remember, my first real amp was a PV Bandit. And I still use it. And the key to me was putting an EQ in the front of it. And that was it, like a 7-band EQ. But I still go back to that amp, and I'm blown away by how good it sounds.
1998, I had that Epiphone Batwing Telecaster and a Crate GFX 112 combo.
God bless you.
And that was what my guitar career started with.
You still have it?
I don't have the amp. I wish I did.
If you got $80,
well,
you could probably.
Somebody had a 212 the other day that had the lead channel also, and I was like, "Damn, that's a third channel." It was $200 though, and I was like, "Ah."
You probably get all the girls too, if you think about it.
I mean, that lead channel.
Yeah, forget it.
Chicks dig a lead channel.
Oh,
dude.
come on, absolutely.
We're going off the rails.
We derailed.
All right, I think we wasted enough of your time.
Thank you guys so
again,
much,
Chris.
man. Enjoy.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. For more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to hear more about the gear that we talked about, check us out at AmericanMusical.com.